हम लोग अभी शेयर मार्केट में एक पैटर्न देख रहे हैं जो कि 2008 के क्रैश के लगभग सिमिलर है।
ओके।
सो 2008 में जब क्रैश हुआ तो तभी भी यही पैटर्न देखा गया था।
Okay.
एक रीजन था।
श्योर।
लाइक अमेरिकन ट्रेडर थे WD गैंग, आप जानते होंगे।
यस।
तो उन्होंने एक बार कहा था कि मेरे को पिछले 100 साल का डेटा दे दो तो मैं अगले 100 साल की प्रेडिक्शन बताऊँ।
ओके।
ये था कि मतलब अगर कोई शॉर्ट टर्म इन्वेस्टर तो उसको क्या करना चाहिए, अपना एसेट एलोकेशन चेंज करना चाहिए। इसमें भी एक डेटा था कि म्यूचुअल फंड सिप्स अभी बहुत कम हो रहे हैं या रुक रहे हैं, तो वो किस वजह से हो रहा है। सो अगर स्टार्टअप फेल हो रहे हैं या अभी जैसे कोलैटरल भी लोन बांटा जा रहा है, सो इसका बैंक पे क्या इफेक्ट हो। सो ह्यूमर है कि 15 लाख तक का एग्जम्पशन हो सकता है टैक्स रिव्यू, और यूटीसी भी आ सकता है, यूनिफॉर्म टैक्स कोड। तो इसका एफएमजीजी सेक्टर पे बहुत पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट दिख रहा है। और ये गोल्ड वापस कम हो रहा है। सो गोल्ड का चमक खत्म हो गया। गोल्ड का ये था कि अभी लास्ट डेटा था तो जो जेनजी है या मिलेनियम भी है या फिर जेनजी के बाद में जो जनरेशन आ रही है, सो दे आर लाइक उनको 18 कैरेट इज गुड इनफ फॉर देम देन दी 24 कैरेट। हम लोग की जनरेशन में था कि 24 कैरेट चाहिए या 22 कैरेट चाहिए। करेक्ट। सो उनमें ऐसा हो रहा है कि 18 कैरेट का डिमांड ज्यादा है। तो
they are not very fancy.
So, आज हमारे पॉडकास्ट में है तुषार गहलानी सर, जिनको 30 साल से भी ज्यादा एक्सपीरियंस है शेयर मार्केट में। तो वो अपने विचार हमारे साथ शेयर करेंगे। तुषार जी।
Hello, Bonnie. Thank you for having me on your podcast today. However, first things first, it's a standard disclaimer I'd like to make.
Okay.
I am not a SEBI registered investment advisor or a research analyst.
Okay.
This podcast is purely for the purpose of information, आपको जानकारी देने के लिए और कुछ हमारे experiences share करने के लिए है। इस पॉडकास्ट में ना कोई इंडिविजुअल स्टॉक टिप्स, ना कोई पर्टिकुलर इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रोडक्ट्स या प्लान्स के सजेशंस नहीं होंगे। आई एम नॉट सॉलिसिटिंग एनी बिजनेस थ्रू दिस पॉडकास्ट. दिस इज मेनली फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ शेयरिंग आवर थॉट्स एंड एक्सपीरियंसेस.
ओके, सो हम लोग डायरेक्ट चालू करते हैं बिना टाइम वेस्ट किए.
एब्सोल्युटली.
सो हम लोग अभी शेयर मार्केट में एक पैटर्न देख रहे हैं जो कि 2008 के क्रैश के लगभग सिमिलर है.
ओके.
सो 2008 में जब क्रैश हुआ था तो तभी भी यही पैटर्न देखा गया था.
ओके.
और अभी 2025 में जो एक हम लोग बोल सकते हैं कि ब्रेकडाउन आया है, करेक्शन आया है,
ओके,
वो भी उसी सिमिलर है जो 2008 के क्रैश में आया. तो आपको क्या लगता है?
टेक्निकल पैरामीटर्स के हिसाब से बता रहे हैं. ओके, ओके. सो वाइल जो आप बोल रहे हैं शायद सही भी होगा, बिकॉज मैं चार्ट्स या टेक्निकल एनालिसिस नहीं करता हूँ. लेकिन कुछ चीजें जरूर बताऊंगा आपको कि अगर चार्ट्स सिमिलर भी दिख रहे हैं, 2008 में जो अपनी इकोनॉमी थी इंडिया की और आज जो 2024 में अपनी इकोनॉमी है, विद अ लॉट ऑफ चेंजेस, with a lot of maturity in the market, with a lot of investing population, with a lot of discipline coming by way of SIPs, corporate performances, governance के जो आज हैं और अपने regulators के जो plans रहे हैं in terms of regulating the entities which are involved in the stock market is far different.
Okay.
तो अगर हम ये भी कहें कि शायद जो हमको भी नहीं मालूम है और आपको भी नहीं मालूम है, अगर वो पैटर्न रिपीट होगी कि नहीं, we do not know.
Okay.
But we are well geared up today to face any such situation. अगर ऐसी परिस्थिति आती भी है या दोहराई भी जाती है तो मुझे नहीं लगता है कि it will be long lasting as such.
Okay.
Black Swan events होते हैं मार्केट में, कहीं ना कहीं अनएक्सपेक्टेड कॉर्नर से कुछ ऐसी चीजें होती है जिसका मार्केट पे इम्पैक्ट होता है. बट इट कैन बी वेल टेकन केयर ऑफ बाय रेगुलेटर्स, बाय लिटिल मैच्योर्ड इन्वेस्टर्स टुडे एंड ऑल्सो बाय द मार्केट पार्टिसिपेंट्स. आज एज अ ब्रोकिंग कम्युनिटी या एसेट मैनेजमेंट कंपनीज आप बोल लें या आप ओवरऑल इन्वेस्टर पॉपुलेशन भी अगर आप बोल लें, दे आर वेल वर्स्ड टुडे और वेल गेयर्ड अप टू डील विद एनी सच सिचुएशन. अगर फॉल आता है, वैल्यूएशंस अट्रैक्टिव होते हैं, आई एम श्योर इट्स अ बाइंग अपॉर्चुनिटी अगेन.
ओके. सो और एक डेटा था लाइक मतलब जो भी क्रैश आए हैं तो उसमें था कि हर एक के बाद एक छोड़ के जो भी हमारा लीप ईयर होता है उसमें क्रैश आता है।
ओके
तो लास्ट क्रैश 2019 या 2020 में आ गया था।
ओके
तो ये भी हो सकता है कि ये लीप ईयर में ना आए, अगले लीप ईयर में आए।
ओके
तो इस पे आपके क्या विचार?
इसमें दिस इज लाइक टाइमिंग द मार्केट। आप हर एक महीना हर एक साल अगर आप देखोगे तो उसके लिए कहीं ना कहीं आपको पास्ट में कुछ प्रेसिडेंस दिखेगा। तो पिछले 10 सालों में 8 साल बाजार बढ़ा, 2 साल नहीं बढ़ा, या 5 साल बढ़ा, 5 साल नहीं बढ़ा। ये परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन आपको हमेशा मिलेंगे, बट वो आपको ये डेफिनेटली नहीं बताते कि ये साल क्या होगा या अगले 3, 4, 5 साल में क्या होगा। So it is like trying to time the market or trying to set the course of the market, जो किसी के बस का नहीं है। जो पैरामीटर्स हैं और फंडामेंटल ग्राउंड्स के जो पैरामीटर्स है उसको अगर हम मद्देनजर रखते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ गवर्नमेंट, द गवर्नेंस, द पॉलिसीज, द मैच्योरिटी ऑफ द मार्केट, the upcoming businesses, or even in terms of India as an economy, macro level globally and macro level nationally, ये सब पैरामीटर्स अगर देखते हैं तो we are in for a reasonably good time with of course some falls, some corrections, some profit booking happening in the market, which is a very part of this market. So even if that so happens, it will be just an opportunity, keeping next 5 years or next 10 years in mind. Nothing to get perturbed about. इससे चिंताजनक कोई बात है नहीं। आएगा भी नहीं भी आएगा, there is a 50-50 probability, we don't know.
ओके, सो ये क्वेश्चन पूछने के पीछे एक रीजन था।
श्योर।
लाइक अमेरिकन ट्रेडर थे WD गैन करके, आप जानते होंगे।
यस।
तो उन्होंने एक बार कहा था कि मेरे को पिछले 100 साल का डेटा दे दो तो मैं अगले 100 साल की प्रेडिक्शन बताऊंगा।
ओके।
सो इट्स लाइक अ डेटा ड्रिवन थिंग। सो लास्ट टाइम भी जब कोविड आया था तो इट्स लाइक हर 100 साल में कुछ ना कुछ ऐसे इवेंट आते हैं जो ह्यूमैनिटी को पूरा वॉश आउट कर दे सकते हैं, वैसे इवेंट आते हैं।
ओके।
सो ड्यू टू दैट आई आस्क्ड द क्वेश्चन कि मतलब अगर ये सब डेटा इंडिकेट कर रहे हैं तो कुछ पॉसिबिलिटी है ऐसा कुछ हो सकता?
मैं इसको दूसरे नजरिए से देखूंगा और उसका रिप्लाई देता हूं। अगर ऐसे फॉल्स आए हैं या ऐसा आपका डेटा या आपके जो भी ऑब्जर्वेशंस रहे हैं पास्ट के, ये ऑब्जर्वेशन आपको बताते हैं कि ऐसा हो सकता है, लुक एट व्हाट हैपेंड टू द मार्केट आफ्टर सच फॉल, or look at what happened after some scams broke out or some financial systems collapsed, or we had a dot-com burst happening in the early 2000 period. Markets have recovered. Of course, some take a little longer to recover, some go in the little consolidation phase and then recover, and some have literally a V-shaped recovery. So my thought would be, even if such a thing happens, which again is a debatable point depending on which theory you choose to follow, but even if such a thing happens, I'm sure the markets can again bounce back based on pure fundamental factors or based on pure economic factors pertaining to the economy, pertaining to the corporate sector, their earnings, participation by the market participants and also investors, most importantly again the regulators. So look at it, what happens after the market. That's something I would focus on, rather than okay, it's likely to fall, doesn't mean I get out of the market or doesn't mean I stop investing.
इसमें ये था कि मतलब अगर कोई शॉर्ट टर्म इन्वेस्टर तो उसको क्या करना चाहिए? अपना असेट एलोकेशन चेंज करना चाहिए?
वन कैन बी कंजर्वेटिव। आज अगर आप साइजेबल प्रॉफिट में बैठे हैं और आपकी ये ट्रेडिंग आइडियाज हैं, ट्रेडिंग आइडियाज के हिसाब से अगर मैं बोलता हूँ आपने 1-2 साल के लिए लिए हैं, कंसिडर दैट एज ट्रेडिंग आइडिया। अनलेस इट इज 5 years and 10 year horizon, आई वुड कंसिडर दैट टू बी इन्वेस्टमेंट। अगर आप 1-2 साल के लिए लिए हैं, इट इज ऑब्वियसली प्रूडेंट। बिल्कुल सही होगा आप अपने प्रॉफिट बुक करें, अलोकेशन शिफ्ट करें, या साइजेबल प्रॉफिट है, आप अनसर्टन है अबाउट द मार्केट मूवमेंट, और मे बी यू आर लिटिल फियरफुल अबाउट द मार्केट, इट्स ओके टू बुक योर प्रॉफिट, कम ऑन द साइड लाइन्स, लेट द इवेंट प्ले आउट और लेट द टाइम लाइन पास। जैसे आप सोच रहे हैं कि ये महीना, ये साल, ये क्वार्टर कॉर्पोरेट परफॉर्मेंस शायद अच्छे नहीं आए, इट्स ओके टू गो लिटिल कंजर्वेटिव, बट डोंट गेट आउट ऑफ योर इन्वेस्टमेंट पोर्टफोलियोज। ट्रेडिंग आइडियाज डेफिनेटली आप पोर्टफोलियो को 2 हिस्सों में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं। एक ट्रेडिंग के लिए रखिए विच इज शॉर्ट टर्म इन नेचर, प्रेफरेंसेस चेंज, सेक्टोरियल allocation change, market valuations also change. you can then take a call based on all these parameters. If it is an investment long only portfolio and you have clear visibility, at least for next 3, 5, 10 years, don't do anything with those. Okay. Any fall, if at all, you see in the market is an opportunity to buy them more if your liquidity permits. But definitely not to get out of your long holdings.
Okay.
Trading, it's inevitable that you need to book profits as and when the opportunity is right and you are getting your reasonable percentage-wise profit. Similarly, in a trading, and if you are stuck, if it was a trading bet, उसमें आप loss भी book करके निकल जाइए.
Okay.
Don't hold on to your losing stocks or any investment with the hope that someday it will look up.
Okay. So अभी इसमें ये भी था कि अगर मतलब हिस्टोरिकली पीई देखा जाए तो हमारा पीई 20 के आसपास रहता है. सो आप पीई को मद्देनजर रखते हुए क्या कहना चाहोगे? ओवर प्राइस है, अंडर वैल्यूड है?
आज की तारीख में कोई भी एक फाइनेंशियल पैरामीटर या एक पर्टिकुलर रेशो को आप देख के इन्वेस्टमेंट डिसीजन नहीं ले सकते हैं, बिकॉज मार्केट डायनामिक्स हैव चेंज्ड. यहाँ कई कंपनियां ऐसी हैं जो 100 के ऊपर पी पे भी मल्टीपल पे भी कोट करती हैं. इट्स अ लिटिल फ्यूचरिस्टिक न्यू एज कंपनीज, आई वुड से. Historically, we have seen some of these multinational companies also quoting at a sizably high P. And it is again industry specific, it is again sector specific, and there is a precedence. Just one parameter will not be the right way to look at a stock or a sector. My suggestion would be look at it in terms of accompany it with other parameters also.
Okay.
Like price to book, the earnings growth, the visibility that the company has in terms of next 4-5 years.
Okay.
There is a possibility that some companies may have had leveraged balance sheet while they are setting up the businesses or in the nascent stage of their business. They may not have any favorable ratios today. But if one has a visibility that going forward next 3 years, 5 years, they are likely to do well thanks to whatever reasons you may consider government push or changes in the preferences and spending of the Indian population, one can still look at that. So don't look at just the PE part of it. Yes, historically one can still draw some reference as to at certain level of PE as in the Indian economy or the stock market particularly, the market becomes expensive, market becomes cheap, market becomes dirt cheap. That's the time probably one can go all in. Yeah. But in isolation, as in one company, one sector, don't just look at one parameter as such. It's one of the parameters that one can consider before one takes any investment decision.
Okay, so geopolitically अभी रशिया यूक्रेन का वॉर चल रहा है, तो बहुत से ऐसे स्पेकुलेशन थे कि मार्केट नीचे आएगा वॉर की वजह से, या क्रूड बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ जाए.
करेक्ट.
लेकिन वैसा कुछ हुआ नहीं. तो ये सिनेरियो को आप कैसे देखते?
ये सब ग्लोबल फिनोमिना है एंड दे आर रियल. वॉर इज देयर, रशिया यूक्रेन हो या मिडिल ईस्ट क्राइसिस आप बोले, बट इट हैज हैपेंड इन द पास्ट आल्सो. So I'm not saying this is the new event that is happening only now and which was never there before. Okay. So we've had wars happening in our own country.
So market already discount karta?
Not really, but market looks beyond that after a point in time. Not that we are forgetting what is happening and which is real, but market will look beyond that. So any company who has got a sizable business interest in those regions, or any company which depends largely for their raw material from those regions, okay, will definitely get impacted. Okay. But something which is very, very local, okay, which has got no business impacted because of something happening globally, has nothing to worry about. So it always has. So it's again one of the negative events which happen in the world, and it does have a knee-jerk reaction in anticipation that things could spiral beyond control or things go haywire. Crude may go to $100 a barrel. Currencies could have an impact. These are again fear philosophies. So yes, it is very natural to be fearful when something breaks out like this in some corner of the world. But eventually the sanity prevails. Someday the war will get over. I don't know when. It's tomorrow or it's after 3 months. I do not know. But again, someday it has to get over. Once it gets over, not only their economy or whichever part of the world it's happening, वो शांत हो जाएगा. बाकी globally भी markets इन्वेस्टर्स शांत हो जाए।
ओके, सो उस हिसाब से देखा जाए तो अभी काफी स्टेबल है, लेकिन ट्रम्प ने एक प्रॉमिस किया था कि वो जब इलेक्शन जीत के आएंगे सो ही विल बी लाइक मीडिएटर फॉर दी वॉर हिटिंग कंट्रीज।
करेक्ट।
सो वो शांत करने की कोशिश कर। करेक्ट। सो वो भी एक चीज है, तो वो भी शायद मार्केट डिस्काउंट करने की कोशिश कर रहा होगा। और ट्रम्प का और एक था कि हम लोग देख रहे थे कि ट्रम्प और मोदी जी की दोस्ती काफी ज्यादा पॉपुलर, लेकिन अभी जो ओथ सेरेमनी हो रही है उसमें मोदी जी को इनवाइट नहीं किया गया।
ओके।
तो अभी जयशंकर जी है वहां पे, लेकिन वो इवेंट कैसे हो जाता है ये बहुत लोगों की नजर है, तो आपका क्या कहना है उसमें?
See, I understand one thing very clearly, whether our beloved Prime Minister is invited for the oath ceremony or not. He has been very decisive in terms of his policies. One political event cannot and will never define the course of the economy in the long run. So something like this will always happen. Some tweet, some statements made by some foreign officials for us as a country or for one of our politician members of the assembly, etc. It's one event will never define anything in the economy per se. It's beyond my or your understanding whether Mr. Modi is invited there for the oath ceremony or not. Tell me one thing honestly, what will change for Indian economy? So if there are some economies or the policies to be discussed with the counterparty government and the government officials, which will any which ways continue at a bureaucratic level.
लास्ट टाइम जब ऐसा हुआ था तब हार्ली डेविडसन के जो 100% टैक्स था वो 50% किया गया.
So some things, see, these are all commercial decisions initiated maybe at a bureaucratic level and also reasonably participated by the politicians. Okay. But in the end, these are all commercial decisions. So if one product is levied with certain amount of tariffs, obviously there is something else they would need from us. We also have a possibility of levying tariffs, which as a
clear बोला है कि अगर हम लोग उन पे टैरिफ लगाएंगे, like टैक्स लगाएंगे, तो हम वो लोग हम पे टैरिफ लगाएंगे.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
that will be like हमारे गुड्स और सर्विसेज के लिए
महंगे हो जाएंगे. yes. बिल्कुल सही बात है. लेकिन एक चीज समझिए, globally most economies today are suffering, battling with inflation. अगर आप उस पे और टैरिफ लगाओगे तो चीजें या कोई भी जरूरत की चीजें हैं वो कोई सस्ती नहीं होगी. तो आप इन्फ्लेशन कैसे कंट्रोल करोगे? इन्फ्लेशन नहीं कंट्रोल करोगे तो हाउ इज योर इकोनॉमी surviving? You know, they are talking about reducing the interest rates and they have already started doing that since last one quarter. If the inflation is not curtailed, it will definitely have all these rise in the tariffs will always have impact on their economy, on their inflation. Historically also we have seen there has been a tariff war going on between US and China. Okay. Of which one of the beneficiaries is India also. Because then suddenly India becomes cheaper in terms of supplying goods and services to the US compared to China. So in most cases it will be beneficial for one economy, not so much beneficial for another economy. But these are again commercial decisions, though happening at certain political level or at a party level. But I would say these are all commercial decisions, will always have impact on certain sectors or segments of the economy. If any particular company who's got a large vested interest in supplying their goods or services to a particular economy suddenly starts levying tariffs, will have an impact. But as I said, it's a business decision. It will have an impact. One will always figure it out in terms of how to fight it out.
So इसमें दो डेटा निकल के आ रहे हैं. Like एक इसके वजह से शायद FIIs सेल कर रहे हैं लेकिन DIIs बाय कर रहे हैं. So वो थोड़ा स्टेबल हो रहा है. लेकिन जो चाइना +1 था वो एक इम्पैक्ट पड़ रहा है क्योंकि चाइना के प्रेसिडेंट इनवाइटेड है लेकिन प्राइम मिनिस्टर इनवाइटेड नहीं.
सी एक तो पहले आपने बोला कि FIIs आर सेलिंग. हाँ. आप लास्ट 2 से 3 साल का अगर रिटर्न्स देखते हैं फ्रॉम द इक्विटीज मार्केट, India has performed one of the best markets across the globe.
Yeah.
When FIIs look at each individual country as their investment destination, they don't look at it in isolation. They look at it as a basket. India happens to be one of the emerging market country for them.
Okay.
So within that emerging market basket, if India is reasonably giving you better return relative terms to your other countries in the basket, it is imperative for them to do the reallocation.
Okay.
So that is the reason there is some sell-off that has happened in our country and some investments have gone in the other emerging markets.
Okay.
Vis-a-vis India, there were many other countries who were lower in terms of valuation or reasonable in terms of valuation.
Okay.
So यहाँ पे profit book हुआ है, allocation हुए हैं किसी और countries में.
Okay.
सामने China has been struggling with their own problems.
Yes.
At a country level, they came out with 2 stimulus packages also. So with the hope that okay, those stimulus packages will work, some allocation moved to China again.
Okay.
These are the reasons why we are seeing FI selling happening.
Okay.
Again, the rupee dollar equation also is one of the reasons why they have to look at it in terms of what do I sell today and get $1 and what if I sell after a few months and get $1 back.
ने जो पैसा निकाला है वो चाइना में नहीं गया.
No, it has gone in other emerging markets. Okay. That is one, and it has some bit of it has gone back in their own country also when the interest rates are on the higher side. So it's a simple I would say an exercise of reallocation.
Okay.
Does not mean India is not growing, or does not mean tomorrow China will suddenly start growing at a faster pace, or US will start doing better. It's a simple allocation. Look at it at an individual level. If I have 4 or 5 asset classes within my investment basket, I will also do that allocation every now and then as and when required.
Okay.
Depending on which asset class has performed well, where I need to take some profits off the table. Similarly, where some asset class have a better value in terms of their pricing, I will obviously reallocate my funds from one to another, which is a standard exercise. So now after 2 stimulus packages also, China has failed to enthuse any global investors. Okay. So some bit of money again will come back or reallocated into another emerging markets. Some of these decisions may not be pure commercial in nature or economical in nature. Some of them may be to do with some political in nature, geopolitical in nature. It is quite possible. But broadly, nobody can afford to skip India as the economy.
Okay.
We are still in one of the very sweet spots as far as the investment destination is concerned. Very stable government at the center, a lot of push from the government side, be it your PLI, be it your ELI, that is performance production linked incentive, yes, or your employment linked incentive. So much of government expenditure is happening in terms of infrastructure. A lot of governance, a lot of regulation is in place. I don't think anybody can miss India as the investment destination. It will only make them accountable to their set of investors.
Okay. So, लेकिन इसमें ये भी है कि मतलब स्टार्टअप में अगर हम लोग देखें तो मतलब 10 में से 7 स्टार्टअप ऐसे हैं जो मतलब ज़ोंबी स्टार्टअप कभी भी फॉल हो सकते हैं. So, अगर हम लोग एक साइड भी ये भी बोले कि मतलब इन्वेस्टमेंट इज गुड फॉर द इंडिया और मतलब हम लोग बहुत ज्यादा बूम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन अगर स्टार्टअप वर्ल्ड में देखा जाए तो बहुत ज्यादा मेस है.
See, that is the very nature of a startup. When I say a startup, तो आप अगर देखेंगे तो they are the offspring or a product of some brilliant idea.
Okay.
Idea in itself is a brilliant idea. उसका एग्जीक्यूशन, उसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन, उसके रिजल्ट्स बहुत अलग हो सकते हैं. जब तक वो आइडिया फॉर्म में है, it may sound very good on the paper. Okay. Do I have the right kind of people? Do I have the right kind of geography to do business in? Do I have the right kind of support from the regulators, government, officials, my customers, my vendor? Then it's open to a hell lot of variables. So an idea can always be brilliant, and that's why somebody initiated, started, and put in maybe some money or called some investment from investors. काफी हद तक ये बिल्कुल सही होगा कि इनमें काफी आइडियाज विल नॉट सर्वाइव वंस दे आर इम्प्लीमेंटेड इन द रियल वर्ल्ड. That is the nature of a startup. So, but इसमें अगर आप investment देखते हैं तो even those 2 or 3 which will do well will give you enough exponential profit to take care of your 6-7 startup investment failures, which is a very basis on which this happens. And once they are little settled or reasonably old in the system, comes the growth stage.
Okay.
That's the stage when people actually make money without taking too much of a risk. Startup is like putting money blindly on an idea or on the person. You don't know whether it will pay you well in the future or not. That's why it's called a startup. And once it settles, once it's on a growth trajectory, then there are many options available even for them to raise funds. So as an investor also, as I keep saying, one will have to evolve or graduate as an investor. So if you are a newcomer in the market, you have a very limited corpus with you to start off, don't look at something which you don't understand, or don't look at something for which you do not have the stomach.
Okay.
काफी लोगों को पैसा कमाना तो है, लेकिन जब रिस्क की बात आती है तो वो उसको बेयर नहीं कर पाते हैं. Don't do something which you find very risky, or don't do something which you don't understand. There are many options available. Once you reach a certain level, so it's always like a mutual fund first, SIP ideally, if you have a regular cash flows happening, then build your portfolio with good stocks, long-standing companies, mainly large cap or select mid-cap stocks. Get the flavor of the market, build some cushion of profit. Then you bet into something which you find a little risky but has a probability of better returns.
So इसमें भी एक डेटा था कि म्यूचुअल फंड सिप्स अभी बहुत कम हो रहे हैं या रुक रहे हैं, तो वो किस वजह से हो सकता है?
सिप्स रुक नहीं रहे हैं. सिप का अगर आप डेटा देखते हैं, SIPs, monthly SIPs, it is close to 24,000 crores today on a monthly basis.
Yes.
And that has been gradually growing only. There have been a lot of initiatives taken by Association of Mutual Funds of India, a lot of initiatives taken by the wealth companies, the advisors, to educate investors or prospect investors at large. People have started to realize that small amount, but on a regular basis, invested religiously for a longer period of time, will obviously make you make money or generate or create wealth. What is happening today is, yes, the money is coming in on a very regular basis, but how much of it is withdrawn on a monthly basis for whatever reasons, or how much of it is stopped abruptly, something which will require a lot of discipline at an investor level. So I would not say SIP के inflows कम हो रहे हैं. SIP के inflows बिल्कुल हैं, और उसी की वजह से आज अपने जो domestic institutions हैं, they have the strength to withstand the selling that is happening by the FII. So there is enough liquidity or enough inflows coming to our domestic mutual funds to be able to invest in the Indian markets. So SIP flows are not coming down. Sporadically, you may see some withdrawals happening, or you may see some stoppages happening in the SIPs, but it would be very small in number.
Okay. So अगर स्टार्टअप फेल हो रहे या अभी जैसे कोलैटरल की भी लोन बांटा जा रहा है बहुत जगह, so इसका बैंक पे क्या इफेक्ट हो सकता है?
अपने यहाँ पे एक चीज बहुत अच्छी है. अपने यहाँ जो भी सेक्टर के या इंडस्ट्री के रेगुलेटर्स हैं, दे आर वेरी प्रॉम्प्ट and very, very efficient and effective in terms of their core job, that is to protect the industry.
Okay.
So I don't know, but if you just see yesterday's newspaper, there was a very clear article. Despite little stress in the unsecured loan space, all these companies or all these entities who are in the lending business are with very strong balance sheet.
Okay.
So it is nothing to be worried about. Yes, there could be a little bit of stress in terms of unsecured loan, and that's why there have been certain restrictions also put in by the regulator for select few players in the industry, whether they are missing on the KYC norms or whether they are missing on any other regulatory norms. It is being watched, it is being monitored. But the sheer size of these companies in terms of their balance sheet is reasonably big enough to be able to take care of any such mishap, if at all.
Okay, so अभी जैसे बजट नजदीक आ रहा है, तो मतलब ये जो भी मोदी गवर्नमेंट में देखा गया है कि पहले 5 साल के पहले बजट जो रहते हैं वो ज्यादा इकोनॉमिकल बेनिफिट नहीं रहते, वो ज्यादातर लाइक फोकस ऑन द रूरल एरिया। सो आप क्या देखते हैं कि मार्केट ये बजट में कुछ रिएक्ट करेगा अपर साइड या डाउन साइड?
See, market will always react to a budget, and that's not because some announcements made by our finance minister is positive or negative. It's more to do with what people were expecting and what was actually declared by the Madam Finance Minister. So it's more of an expectation versus reality. Now, most of the things that they may declare or make an announcement of in the budget, it will suit somebody in a positive way. It may not suit somebody so much, so to say. It will have a reaction to the market. But these are again a yearly affair. More focus is on where the government is going to be spending their money, where the government is going to be spending in terms of infrastructure, education, upliftment of lower masses. All these things will definitely have a larger impact on the broader economic arena and obviously thereafter on the market. So look at these factors rather than just one tax slab or an exemption limit or some GST changes which happens in the GST council meet. It's a part of their day-to-day work. It will continue to function in the exact similar way. Look at so many budgets. Those have been declared by so many finance ministers in the past. It will have an impact. Selectively, positively, selectively, negatively also for certain set of companies or sectors. But in the long run, it all pans out.
सो रूमर है कि 15 लाख तक का एग्जम्पशन हो सकता है टैक्स रिजीम में और यूटीसी भी आ सकता है, यूनिफॉर्म टैक्स कोड। सो इसका एफएमजीजी सेक्टर पे बहुत पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट दिख रहे हैं और बाकी जो नॉन कंज्यूमेबल गुड्स या सर्विसेज है उस पे नेगेटिव इफेक्ट है। तो आप इसको कैसे पैन आउट करें?
सी, हम एक सिंपल चीज सोचते हैं कि आप अपना इनकम का जो हिस्सा है उसको 2 हिस्सों में बांटिए। वन इज दैट यू स्पेंड इट ऑन नेसेसिटीज, राशन, your day to day household expenses. That's what you spend your money on. As your surplus funds available with you at the end of the month or end of the year, typically more of that is available now for discretionary spend. And if that so happens, if you say these are the rumors, and if that so happens, if at all, it will leave only a surplus money or more available funds in the hands of individual. So their monthly grocery bill will not shoot up. It may inch up a little for a better quality of a product or a better brand of a product, but they are left with a larger amount or a chunk in their hand for discretionary spend. And when I say discretionary spend, it's all going towards travel, it's all going towards movies. I mean, you can think of anything which is discretionary, more for fun, more for pleasure, more for automobile, malls, movies, travel, airlines. These are the places where you want to spend and have a better experience or a pleasant surprise to yourself. So these are the sectors which will benefit. Not to say FMCG will not benefit. People may laterally graduate to a better brand or a better product, so to say. It will have an impact, no doubt, but more towards the discretionary spend. The percentage rise in your income or surplus available with you is far more, in terms of discretionary spend rather than on your necessities. Necessities will also grow, but maybe by 10%. Majority of the chunk will go towards discretionary spend.
So, अभी जो ईवी सेक्टर में जो बूम आया है, तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि ईवी से ज्यादा इथेनॉल या बायोफ्यूल उस पे ज्यादा अट्रैक्शन हो रहा है। बस ईवी का बस था इसलिए वो ज्यादा बढ़ा, लेकिन अगर आप ग्राउंड लेवल पे देखो तो इथेनॉल इज मेकिंग मोर सेंस।
I would say there has been a push from the government today to move towards green and clean energy. So in any form it is available to us as a country, more dependently on the infrastructure that we have today.
Okay.
So if we are talking about any form of biofuel or any form of an EV way, it will be purely working in a way where I have the better infrastructure today. So it's not only EV that the government is pushing; it's even CNG, it's even ethanol-based hydrogen. So these are the talks happening. There has been a lot of work happening in this direction. A lot of companies are making amends in their production or in their preferences of models, also in a way which is in sync with what the government is trying to do. So it is going to be the future. But having said that, we need to have a lot made at the ground level to make it a reality.
Okay.
In terms of infrastructure, in terms of even charging stations, or even in terms of say discarding of batteries. We cannot just throw it away if it is not functioning. That needs to be discarded properly.
Recycle bhi karna zaruri hai.
Absolutely. So I need to have all these things in place before we go full throttle in that direction. And it will happen. Seeing the way our ministers have been functioning, that's the focus, that's the future.
लेकिन चार्जिंग में जितना टाइम लगता है उससे बहुत कम टाइम तो इथेनॉल फीलिंग में लगता है.
Absolutely, but at the same time you will have to also look at it in terms of the cost.
Okay.
The recurring cost. So eventually it will all work out to the running cost or the recurring cost. So if that's economical and if it is environmental friendly, why not?
तो आपको लगता है कचरे में पैसा बनेगा?
Recycling में बनेगा.
Okay.
Reuse में बनेगा.
Okay.
And it is happening actually. If you see, there is a lot of focus on
waste management.
There is a lot of focus on water treatment. And these are all scarce resources that we have. So there have been reports wherein most countries will struggle for safe drinking water by the year 2050. So if one has to prepare for that eventuality not happening after a couple of decades, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of focus in that direction too. So again, sooner the better. जब जागे वहाँ से सुबह करिए. If there are companies focusing on that part of business, I'm sure it has some.
थोरियम में भी थोड़ा attraction आ रहा है.
See, but these are again dependent on the availability of the raw material, availability of.
थोरियम का resources हमारे पास सबसे ज़्यादा
है. But can we actually put to use in a way it should be, or do we have the technology? What are the cost implications? Will I need a technological collaboration from somebody?
Okay.
Some things which is still a gray area. It's being explored, I would say, at this point in time. I need to wait for some more time to see how it's panning out.
Okay. So, अभी आप geopolitical situation कैसे दिखती?
My thought is, from the economy point of view, lot of countries have their own individual problems. The Eurozone entirely has their own problem. US also has its problem. China has its own problem. So Russia, Ukraine is happening. Geopolitical tension in the Middle East is there. We will continue to see these kind of things happening. It's a matter of time, some reasonable time before it comes to an end. Until such time, we still remain one of the better ones of the lot on many grounds, in terms of my demography, my average age of an Indian, my production capabilities, the labor, the skills, government push, government spending, government capex until now, private sector also looking at doing a lot of capital expenditure. So all these things playing out pretty well for us as a country. I'm sure there are a couple of other countries also in the world who are doing relatively better compared to most others. You will continue to have this kind of a situation prevailing. So something happened in China, or COVID happened again. China +1 was the tag given to us.
Yes.
And along with us, a couple of other countries also in the Southeast Asian region. That's something which will continue to happen. Something happens in another part of the world, they may choose us for something else. So that's going to be the name of the game going forward. So geopolitical, unless it's happening here on our soil,
okay,
of course it's a matter of worry, but doesn't impact me beyond.
Okay. सो ये क्वेश्चन पूछने का रीजन ये था कि गोल्ड वापस कब हो रहा है. सो गोल्ड का चमक खत्म हो गया या सिल्वर कुछ लगा?
Gold and silver has been the best asset classes in the last year or so. So I mean they've given a phenomenal return to the investors. If you're looking that as an investment option, it's safe to have some allocation made in that direction, purely as a safer haven asset class, I would say. Silver more because it has an industrial use also. Other than that, I mean, it has to be a good mix at an individual level, again, as an allocation. So some part, and again, depending on your own profile or your risk appetite, your timeline that you're looking at, have reasonably good allocation made. So equity, for sure, yes. Depending on your profile, part of it should go in debt, part of it has to be in the precious metal. If nothing, at least it will take care of inflationary aspects. Some bit in terms of real estate. Why not? These are the options available. Do look at it. We're not seeing their prices correcting sizably from the current levels, because recently a lot of central banks have bought gold. That kind of buying is for now stopped. So we've seen some bit of a correction. Recently we have had reduction in the duties as far as Indian government is concerned, so there was a fall. But we have a very positive view on both gold and silver, more so on the silver side of it.
सिल्वर तो मतलब अभी कमोडिटी बन चुका है, लाइक सोलर में वगैरह यूज होता है.
एब्सोल्युटली.
सो दैट इज द डिफरेंट पार्ट. लेकिन गोल्ड का ये था कि अभी लास्ट डेटा था, तो जो जेनजी है या मिलेनियम भी है या फिर जेनजी के बाद में जो जनरेशन आ रही है, सो दे आर लाइक उनको 18 कैरेट इज गुड इनफ फॉर देम देन दी 24 कैरेट. लाइक हम लोग की जनरेशन में था कि 24 कैरेट चाहिए या 22 कैरेट चाहिए.
करेक्ट.
सो उनमें ऐसा हो रहा है कि 18 कैरेट का डिमांड ज्यादा है. तो
they are not very fancy. They are not very fancy with these things. The Gen Z or the millenniums, if you call them, don't compare them with the previous generations. They have a very different mindset. So they don't want to be bound to something. They want to be as free as possible. Unlikely to buy their own vehicles unless somebody fancies or has a जो शौक की हम जो बात करते हैं. Otherwise they are very fine with using Ola, Uber and whatnot. So even the apartment, if you see, they would want to rent an apartment, and which is very, very right if you ask me today. At 2%, 3% yields, it's cheaper to rent an apartment than to buy one. This generation would ideally have the earlier generation made enough for them in terms of real estate. So they don't want to get bound to something as such. They want to be as free as possible, not own too many responsibilities. Similarly, even on the gold side of it, if you ask anybody from that generation, they don't have a fancy for it. They may have it as a safer haven or a cushion for an emergency, but beyond that, I don't think anything more than that.
So डिमांड सप्लाई को देखते हुए आपको लग रहा है कि करेक्शन हो सकता है?
No, not really, because I think there's enough demand otherwise from the jewelry business, if you see. So we keep having these themes coming out, especially when it's the wedding season. So obviously you will have people buying gold for the gifting purpose or for making the ornaments or the jewelries for the season. So that population is still there. It's still there. The new generation may not want to buy it for themselves, but the parents or the older one will still buy and gift it. So there's enough demand, so to say. More so if you have geopolitical scenarios happening the way it is happening today, as a prudent measure or an asset allocation, people will still buy some and keep. And we Indians have a very fancy for a yellow metal. We only buy and never sell. Even if it's not for any specific purpose, we just buy and hold. So it's there. The demand is there. It's not that it's not there.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time and the conversation you have.
Thank you very much for having me. It was great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.